Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the tech track. And I assume that many of us are developers, or at least people interested in tech. So we all know that the tech track is the most important of the tracks today. And this is a particular exciting afternoon. We've got 3 20-minute sessions for you and a 10 to 20 minutes Q&A at the end. My name is Søren. It is not Søren Spelling, it is Søren Skovsbøll. So even though down here you'll probably see, you'll see it say Søren Spelling, perhaps. We're not all named Søren Spelling Lund. There'll be different people, though we look quite similar. So before we get into the tech track itself, I just need to make a denouncement, because Søren Spelling a couple of minutes ago said, and I quote, "Tomorrow when we release Ucommerce 9.4, he didn't mean tomorrow, the date tomorrow. He meant that figuratively. So it's going to be some date in the future. It's not going to be released tomorrow." So sorry about that, but hope we got that straightened out now. So the tech track. First, it's going to be myself talking in depth about Bolt, some of the tips and tricks that you can do today, and I'll shed the light on some of the features that we have planned for version 9.4. And after that, my colleague Esben Gorning will be talking about Condo, the UI, new and shiny UI. And after that, Morten Skjoldager will be talking about migrating from 8 to 9. I'm sure a lot of you have been busy these past few months upgrading from 8 to 9, and some of you may be thinking, what do I need to do to prepare? That's all going to be explained. And finally, a Q&A session. I also need to say that you're welcome to ask questions in the chat. So this is a regular Zoom meeting, not a Zoom webinar, and therefore we don't have this fancy Q&A window, but you can use the chat and you can ask questions. They'll be presented to me, so I'll answer the questions whenever it feels appropriate, at least at the end of the 20-minute sessions, and then again at the end of all 3 sessions. And I think we should just get started with the first talk, which is also me. My name is still Søren. I'm a software engineer. I just realized the other day that I've been programming computers for 38 years now, and I still enjoy it, and I look forward to presenting some of the maybe lesser known secrets in Bolt and some of the future perspectives. So the agenda here is just a short recap. May not be all of you who've actually used Bolt yet, so let's just repeat some of the points that Søren Spelling made earlier. And then there's 1 or 2 tricks that I want to show you in the already released versions. And the last 3 items in this list is about the future. It's 9.4 and beyond. So, short recap, what is Bolt? We know, like you probably do, that a lot of studies have shown that a fast product listing and product search page translates directly into a higher conversion rate and therefore higher revenue. It's been shown again and again, so search and display of product listing needs to be super fast. And the Bolt team is a very handsome, I may say, and talented group of people. They're working hard to make the next version of Bolt a reality. And these are the principles that guide the design of Bolt. It needs to be fast. That is the very first principle and the most important principle, but we also wanted to create it to be familiar to you and also extensible. I'll talk a bit about more of the 3. But first, fast. That's what we're going to deal with for the majority of this first part of these 20 minutes. So, given that Bolt uses search technology, a search engine called Lucene, which is battle-tested and really old and stable and proven, it's a lot easier to achieve fast product searches and product listings. Not just products, anything, but it's mostly through products that you experience it to begin with. So it's extensible. It's powered by Lucene by default, but we did make it so that it's extensible through providers. And I'll also talk more about that, because if you haven't realized it by now, Elasticsearch is a provider just like Lucene is a provider. So it's familiar. It's not Link, but it does look somewhat like Link. It should be something that you could dot your way through and quite easily figure out what is the correct way of achieving the searches and the results that you need to. It's also a familiar interface across of the providers. So let's talk fast, because as I said, it's important to have a fast load time for product listings and for searches and for faceted search in particular. And how do we achieve that? Well, as with any technology, it's possible to shoot yourself in the foot. And one of the most common ways of shooting yourself in the foot with any type of search or database technology is emitting too many queries. So you need to limit the number of queries. That is the all-round advice. And that goes for Bolt as well, of course. But if you do need to optimize a single query, we can help you. So I think this can affect the way you work in your everyday life, making e-commerce sites for your customers. And if you have peeked into your log files today already, you may have seen something like this and wondered, what is all that text and what's going on there? And we're going to be dissecting a single log entry, line by line or block by block. So this can help you figure out if you're experiencing some query that takes longer than you would have expected, and to optimize it. So the first line, let me just go back a few. So we have roughly, 8 lines here. And the first line, I've split it up into multiple lines so you can see all of it. And it just tells you which index are we using. It can be useful if you have multiple indexes at different locations on the disk. Here you can see exactly where is this index located. And the last bit, the last line, that is a stopwatch. So it starts when the query starts, and it just keeps ticking until every result is returned, and you get the total at the last line of the log entry, and you get all the intermediate timings. So of course, 0 millisecond at the beginning, and that will rise as we go through all of the steps. The next step is translating the input query, the link-like query that you have written, into a native query. It takes not a long time, so you can see 1 millisecond when we're done with that, but this will help you sometimes to figure out how is it being translated, what is it that we're querying, and also help you recognize the specific query in case you're looking through a large log file and trying to figure out where is that query that I know is a bit slow. The next part is the actual searching inside of Lucene. It's often very fast, and you can see it will tell you even, because we have pagination by default in Bolt. So there's just one hit here, so obviously that's pretty fast, but if we had many more, you could see what the total number of hits is and the number of hits returned. So next step is to retrieve the data from Lucene, and that can sometimes, if you have very large models, be time consuming, not a lot, but somewhat. At least this will enable you to see how much compared to all of the other steps. And then finally, at the very last line, you'll find a mini stack trace. And I think it's useful to identify the individual query and figure out what part of your code is responsible for firing this query. And even if you see through the log files and find out that you have many similar looking queries, you can use a mini stack trace to determine the one you're looking at right now, which one of them is it. So there's more to fast than just optimizing a single query. I know we talked about this before, but I want to just briefly mention it again because it's a gem, and I think it can make a huge difference for your everyday work. So the Seeder tool, which is running here, is a .NET Core small open source app that can take an empty database and fill it with random, but somewhat naturally looking product, category, store, product definition data, whatever you feed into it, even product images right into Umbraco. So right now, for instance, it's seeding an empty database and filling it with, what's that, 100,000 descriptions for 20,000 products. So it's 20,000 products, each with 4 variants, so about 100,000 products. That is important, not just to us when we're building Bolt, but it's also important for you to be able to simulate the final e-commerce solution that you're building for your customers with data of the scale that matches your customers' requirements. So for instance, let's imagine you had a customer and they told you, well, we're going to have about 500,000 products. You can set up this data and tell the Seeder tool to create a database that has the same dimensionality as your customers do before you go live. And that is the important distinction here. It can help you when you develop, but you need to at least do this before you go live. It may be you already have access to production data in your development setup, but I know many of us do not. So it's helpful and it's available. Already it's open source, as I said, so you can just start using it today. All right, next topic. I know I'm going fast here. I need to go fast. It's 20 minutes, it's lightning. So many people choose Elasticsearch instead of Lucene because they need the scalability. And we also sense that Elastic is very commonly used in the cloud. Not many people set up a private Elastic production environment. Many want to go to the cloud. So that's what we're looking to do with the next version. We want to make it so that you can just switch provider in your configuration, do a full reindex, and then keep going. That is the goal. We also want, of course, to be able to reuse existing queries, but if you do need to optimize, as I know some of you do, specifically for Elasticsearch, some of the more fine-tuning abilities, you can use Nest or JSON queries. And as I said, we aim for 9.4, which is not being released tomorrow, but in the near future. Thank you. Okay, so it might also be that you have different requirements from the two, Lucene and Elastic. And it's been a design goal from the beginning that you can create your own search provider for Solar, Azure, Amazon, Google, whatever it is. Many search technologies out there. And I gotta be honest, it's somewhat difficult today. We are looking into ways of making it much more easy in the future. And we're doing it as we make the provider for Elasticsearch. So we're dogfooding, you could say. And as we're dogfooding, we figured we needed to know when we're done. And I think if you ever venture into creating your own provider, you also need to know when you're done. And a test suite would be quite useful, wouldn't it? We have a test suite for Lucene, but we have invested in making it generic enough so that you can use it. We are using it on Elastic, and we are looking to find a way to give it to you so you can use it on your own provider. So to sum up for Elastic and providers, it is possible to write your own. Probably wouldn't recommend it today, but we are going to be making it a lot easier, not least by limiting the requirements in terms of interfaces that you have to implement to make it work. But the more important thing is a test suite that can work across any provider. Okay, so faceting prices with text and any number of prices is a limitation, I would say, to the current version of Bolt. You may have seen the product.unit prices property, and you may also have seen this in your query. If you need to facet on prices, you need to tell the query which price group you're targeting. So in effect, what it means is that you can only have one field. Sorry, too fast. You can only have one price field. That is going to change. So in the future, the same query is going to look like this. Yeah. New possibilities. So again, before, this is your typical index definition where you set up the field, single, and that used to be just unit prices in most cases. Well, unit prices is somewhat useful, but what would be more useful is prices including tax and the tax itself. That is what you need to display on the product page and sometimes also on the product listing. So it's going to be a lot easier in the future. Another benefit is that you could use this same principle for faceting your own dictionary type fields. So it could be not just money, it could be any any dictionary with a numeric value, or even just any field of numeric type that you want to facet on. You do need to update your code in a few places. It's going to be a breaking change. We'll make sure that you get the guidance you need. It's coming in 9.4, so we look forward to that. I think it's going to be awesome. Also coming in 9.4 is a new definition syntax. It's going to be a nicer, leaner chaining style syntax for defining your fields. There was a lot of repetition in the old way of defining fields. So you have to say this.field provided with the property p.description, and then at the next line you would say this.facet and the same p.description. So a lot of redundancy. I think this is a much nicer syntax, and you can modify the field by chaining additional methods at the end, like full text if you want this field full text indexed. Don't store if you just want it to be searchable but not retrievable. That's very common. Another example on the chaining syntax changes is turning a field into a facet and adding a display name, for instance. Another improvement is range facets. So you could do it before, but the syntax was quite a lot uglier, I would say. This reads more natural. And if you don't want to provide your ranges yourself, you can have automatic ranges be applied. Previously, it was just the unit prices field that had this ability, but now it can apply to any field, your own fields, prices including tax, whatever you need. Yep. So to sum up the entire presentation, you've seen how to use the Seeder tool to test your performance before production. And if you head over to the one of the Umbraco demos, maybe not the number one, but one of the others, they have these huge number of products, but they all have funny names like awesome wooden keyboard or vinyl hamburger or something, and they're all randomly generated. So that's a kind of, when you see that, you know the Seeder tool has been at play. You'll also seen how to use your log entries that already get written to your logs today, how to fine-tune your search queries. And you can look forward to Elasticsearch. You can look forward to multiple prices fields with multiple price groups, and a leaner definition and query syntax. So I'm looking at my screen and I don't see any written questions. But it's time for questions. So please, if you have questions, I think we have a few minutes. Yes, cool. Maybe try and refresh. Can you refresh, please? See if it's updated. Okay. That's totally cool. No questions. You have plenty of time to ask questions at the Q&A session. It'll be in about 40 minutes from now. So plenty of time. No worries. And I'm going to be changing the mic and giving it to Esben Corning, who'll be talking about Condo. I look very much forward to it. So thank you very much.